Are welcome to come and work out of this space, collaborate with each other, and then we run about 150 events a year in the evenings. This is one of them. And then additionally, we run an accelerator for startup game companies. If you are interested in seeing your game explode on the charts, come and talk to us later. We can help out. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-founder, Sana.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you.
So thank you to everyone who came out tonight, and I want to extend a special welcome to our folks from TiE. So if you're in there in the audience, thank you for coming. So TiE, real quick, is actually the world's largest entrepreneur organization. And TiE runs TiECon, which is the world's largest entrepreneur conference, right? Which just happened a little while ago. They also have a group called TiE Angels, which funded about 20 companies in the last 2 years. So if you're raising money, definitely talk to TiE Angels. They have charter members, which are invite only, typically guys that have sold their companies for $100 million or more. So TiE SF, which I'm also a co-chair of, is essentially doing a number of different entrepreneur-focused events like this one, and it's a great way to get access to these guys as mentors, funding, you name it. So if you're interested in anything around TiE, just email info@yetizen with TiE in the subject line, and I'm happy to answer any questions for you. And with that, let's move on to wonderful Victor.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Victor Sheverov. I'm with Opera, a browser company. I have like just 30 seconds, so I want to ask really quickly 2 questions. One question is, if you are a mobile app developer, could you raise your hand? Mobile app developer.
Come on.
Thank you. And those app developers who are not just reliant on organic traffic, but who are also running campaigns to increase user base fast, to grow user base fast, could you also raise your hand if anybody's running campaigns to? Okay, so for the people who replied yes to the first question, we can help to get you featured on the homepage of the Opera browser, and you'll be in front of the eyeballs of 260 million people worldwide. So just come talk to us. If you have mobile app, we can get you featured for a short time on the homepage of the Opera browser. And for the people who replied on the second question, yes, you should also talk to us, because we can probably set up a long-term campaign, and you'll be for long-term on the homepage of the Opera browser. And you can reach an audience of 260 million people. It's an international audience, mostly in emerging countries. Number 1 is India, Russia, Indonesia, Brazil. So it's not really US traffic, but if you're looking for global audience, increase of your global user base, you can talk to us. And I'm here, just come and talk to us.
How much money?
It depends very much on the countries. So like US and Russia kind of right now top very high big countries. But if you want a global campaign, it could be like 3 cents CPC on Android, for example. That's an example. But that means you get a lot of traffic from like Africa. but I mean, starting from 3 cents up to let's say like 30 cents CPC. And that means you can get up to 1 million downloads per month. So we can scale your business very fast if you want. Thank you very much. Thank you, bye.
So, I'm here with Shaun from GREE. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you've come from, and what you do at GREE.
Well, I started in the game industry in about 2001, working on PC real-time strategy games in Cambridge for a company called Stainless Steel Studios. And we made Empire Earth and Empire's Dawn of the Modern World. And then I worked for Harmonix for a little while. And then came out to California, where I spent a little bit of time at Sega, and then took some time off to go to law school. Got out of school, went to work for a free-to-play publisher called Outspark.
Heard of them.
Free-to-play Korean and Chinese games mostly. Then I went from there to working on Facebook games for iWin. Before a time at Kabam doing monetization and live ops. Then I went to a little startup called Funzio, which was acquired last year by GREE.
A little startup named Funzio. Anyway. All right, great. So
very little money.
Yeah, I think they are about $5.
Bargain.
So GREE has had monstrous success in monetizing in Japan. And now they're starting to find success here in the US. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between monetizing those two markets?
Well, I don't think that there's that much of a difference, really. I think that games that did not appear to catch on in this country use the same mechanics as the games that are catching on now and doing really well. It's really just finding your player base and then appealing to those players, and then letting the data tell you what direction to move in after that. I'm enjoying some card battle games right now, as an example, that I'm spending on. I've spent about $300 on one game in particular.
You're a whale.
I'm a whale in one game. But previously I played 2 other games that are card battle games that I hated. I didn't last more than a couple days on them. The mechanics are exactly the same. It's the same game. It's just that the IP for this game is more appealing to me, so I'm playing this game more. And then as this game grows, it's obviously shown capability in this country. It'll evolve and give me more of what I want as an American player.
Okay, so really, it just is genre, not specific, but content specific?
I think it's a little bit of content, and in terms of finding the right players that work for your game, you know, there's lots of different player archetypes that spend. So you'll have people who spend because they like to socialize. They want to find a place where they can meet other players and communicate more. They might spend on things that let them do that, or on gifting, so they can build friendships and kind of buy friendships. And then you might have players who are more alpha-oriented. They want to win. They want to win battles. They want to be on top of leaderboards. When you find those players, then you sell them the things that they want to do so that they can win.
Okay. I've seen the free-to-play strategy evolve over the years in the stores. It started out just simply buying currency, and now it seems to be a little bit more complex. Can you talk about that evolution?
Well, the one thing that stands out to me in terms of the evolution would be coming from the early PC games that were not live games, that you would just play online with other players, and then going to the client-based MMOs. What I'm seeing now in mobile that's a little different is, I would say, not long ago, live ops was not a big thing in mobile. You didn't have a lot of events running in the games. You'd put the game out, you'd get your users, you'd make some money. You'd have, you know, your shop and your things that you could buy, but you didn't necessarily have tailored events designed to get your players to do the things you want. You'll have your KPIs for your game, your key performance indicators, and one of them might be revenue, and you might run an event for direct revenue, where you want people to just buy something specifically to win the event, or you might have indirect revenue, where you have a goal that they can achieve more easily by making purchases. You might have a goal of, I don't know, traveling the most distance in a land in your game. People might spend money on a mount or something that's going to allow them to travel faster further. You might have a competition where a player can win by winning the most battles in PvP. Well, they might buy items that are going to help them win in PvP. It's not necessarily direct.
So is it optimizing on those individual user channels that has evolved, or is it the actual free-to-play strategy that's evolved? I
think the strategy itself has changed a little bit, although I can't really speak too much to that. I just think that you'll see free-to-play now, and I've, in my position, from what I've seen, it's a lot more like what social and browser games were before. The thinking is very similar. In fact, now you have Facebook telling everybody how much reach they have on mobile, whereas not long ago, Facebook was telling you how much reach they had on people's browsers and on the internet. So it may be history repeating itself, or it might just be mobile is now maturing and getting to where business was.
How much has Facebook reach actually benefited you guys, like on your marketing and user acquisition?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to know if it's something that's going to help you in terms of the players that they have to offer. If I'm working on a more casual title, Facebook integration is one of the most important things for my, growing my game, so that I don't have to spend a ton of money. There are a lot of folks, including people I've worked with at previous companies, who feel like the key to success in mobile is the successful acquisition of profitable player traffic. And they look at it entirely as a spend and an ROI situation. But if you can use real social viral channels and recruit players that you're not paying for the head count, that actually brings down your cost to acquire users overall, because you're bringing in organic traffic. And it's not just, hey, did you hear about this game? It's giving them the tools that Facebook already built for you to bring more people into the game.
Which is a great segue to another question about virality. Sorry.
Yeah, so, well, she might be reading my mind, but I see a difference between virality and organic.
Is it that hard?
Sorry?
Is it that hard to read your mind?
It can be.
I'm just
unless you're really it's very easy.
Can you talk a little bit about
define viral and organic first.
So viral is I invite someone, they join. Organic is they discover it on their own. They like what they see. They join.
Well, you get kind of both of those depending on how you're using the tools that you have. Me inviting a player to make wall posts about how great my game is, that's, I guess you'd say, more organic, because people are just going to see it in the newsfeed. But I also have tools where I can have directed wall posts on Facebook, where I can have a person make a specific thing. Or for mobile, one of the easier things, I shouldn't say easy if they're engineers here, I never say it. I never say anything's easy. I say it's straightforward. A straightforward thing you can do is integrating their text and their email client. Tell your friends about the game, bring up a pre-populated email in their default client, and then they just go to the toolbar, put in the players they want to send it to or the friends. You can do the same thing with text messages. That's great viral. It's specific, it's directed, and it doesn't involve using Facebook or any other type of thing.
How do you calculate it? How do you calculate what traffic came from where else?
Well, it depends. I mean, there's technical ways that you could do it. You could send them to an interstitial page that they bounce off of where they get tagged, but you might not consider the friction to be worth it because you'll have people who bounce off that page and not go to the game. Yeah. They just want to play the game. On mobile, one of the advantages is that they can't just play the game without going at least to the download page in the App Store. So if the email sends them there, at least you have them from that way. And then if you want to do a swag, you can just deduct your paid users and get a rough estimate of what your organics are.
Are you looking for a career in IT? Are you an experienced professional or a recent graduate looking for better job prospects? At InnerSources, we have a unique and intensive training program that is hands-on with senior IT professionals. Our placement program guarantees a job with one of our Fortune 500 clients. At InnerSources, we have a great benefits package along with visa processing.
Take the first step towards your successful IT career.
Call InnerSources at 510-870-1512.
TiEcon, the world's largest conference for entrepreneurs, and IND-TV USA invite you to watch exclusive content from TiEcon 2013. Hear key, compelling speakers from LinkedIn, Kiva, Ericsson, 5 Hour Energy, and many more. Check the IND-TV USA website for the broadcast schedule and tune in.
Do you find that some genres are more popular in Asia than they are in the US and vice versa? And if so,
well, by genre, what do you mean specifically?
That's actually touching on something I'm going to get to in a little bit, so we'll just hold off on that one for a moment.
Spotlight.
It's all right. One of the main reasons I reached out to you is internally at GREE, you've been talking a lot about the life cycle of a virtual good. I'm dying to know what the hell that means.
I don't think I was in the room for that. But the life cycle of a virtual good, when I talk about the life cycle of a virtual good, I frequently just talk about it in the form of like a circle of life. You have a new virtual good, right? So you haven't put it in the game yet. You want to establish that good. What's the value proposition? What's it worth? Why does the person want it? The first thing I usually do, unless there's a reason not to, is I create an area of exclusivity about the item. It might be a reward for a live ops event that only a few hundred or a few thousand players will get it first. It's something you competed for, it's something you feel like you've earned, if there's a status to having it. Once we've introduced it and let players play with it a little bit, then we put it in the store at a really high premium. Then you'll get price-inflexible whales, people who are whales who will buy anything no matter what the cost because they want it. You get those people in, they start buying it, the sales goes up for that item. When it comes back down to earth, then you have a few options. You can put it on sale. You can put it in like a random chance game.
Or it's like an item to win?
It could be an item to win in a chance. So you could take something that normally would cost $5 or $50.
It's like a mystery crate.
A mystery crate. And then you put it in a mystery crate that costs 50 cents. You'll probably make more in the long run from the mystery crate because people will spend a lot more money on it. And as long as you're giving them something out of that crate that's at least worth what they put into it, then they don't really feel like they've lost even when they're not getting the prize.
Okay, so touching on his question, which I had one prepared, it seems that initially the US market followed the Japanese market about 5 years. And then genres would come out and about 2 years later they would hit in the US. And then now we're seeing about a 6 month, like the card battle games came out in Japan about 6 months before they really took off here in the US. If you were to look into your crystal ball, what do you see as the next genre? And how close is that window now drawing between the Japanese and the US markets?
I think we're almost to simultaneous. I mean, you see Japanese companies putting offices up in the United States and in other places. in part because we have games that work and we have models that work, and it's just a matter of finding that audience and making sure that we gear it toward the people that want to play the game. So in terms of a specific game style, I don't really know. I've been playing a lot of games on the GREE network, and I've played card battle games, and I've played games where I take care of a little blob, and I've played dating games. I've done it all. I think every single one of those genres can absolutely find a winning channel in the United States and the rest of the world. They just have to make sure that it presents itself well, that it has a compelling story for the people that you're marketing it to, and that once it gets rolling, you look at that data and you look at your players and you make sure you give them more of what they want and don't try to force them to take what works somewhere else.
So initially it was said that card battling games, the mechanics used in those were too difficult for US players, but yet we see it worked well here. Are there certain genres that just simply won't work in the US, or do you see really a mirror effect?
I haven't encountered anything that I think wouldn't work.
What about monetization features? Are there certain monetization features that will work in a market but not in another market?
Not that I've seen. I've seen monetization features in some Japanese games that I think were long overdue coming into the US. When I was working previously at, as this example, Outspark, that was my first experience with like random chance items in a store. Ironically, at all the other places I worked at, that had never come up as an idea. Yeah. And I was like, wow, these Asian game companies are brilliant. And now I'm in a company where they're like, well, obviously we're going to do that. Like, what else are we going to do? So I just think it's a matter of finding a place, finding a home for your different strategies, and everything will work out.
What was something that you have seen in GREE games in the last few months that come from the Asian market, like as a mechanic, and you're like, wow?
Well, I think that there are, without getting too specific, I think that there are different ways.
It's already done, right? You can be specific. We've seen it in the market.
Well, I'm going to talk about things, maybe things that have been done or haven't been done. But taking, for example, a random chance game and adding an element, a collectivity and puzzle element to it that compels the user to actually continue that loop over and over again long after they've gotten what you thought was the actual big prize.
So you worked on a great game called Monster Quest. What was your role on that?
I was the producer for Monster Quest.
What lessons have you learned from Monster Quest that you now take forward?
Well, a lesson I thought I had learned a very long time ago, but apparently did not, was when you're working on a game, when you work on a project, everyone here is going to put their heart and soul into it. You're going to love it. It's going to be your baby, and you're going to know better than anybody else what it needs to be and how it needs to work. But what you have to take a step back and realize is you're not making this game for yourself. You are making this game for your audience. You are making this game for your players. You're making this game for your employer. And you'll find that you're so committed to something because you know how brilliant it is and how well it'll work, but that doesn't mean that the 300,000 people that you're about to get playing the game understand it.
Yeah, there was an old saying we had at, I think it was Digital Chocolate. You know, as designers, we always want to make things as difficult and hard as possible just by nature. We don't even realize we're doing it. So once you've designed a game, scale it back halfway in difficulty, and it's still too hard for the market.
Yeah, I think what I'd heard was if designers ruled the world, nothing would ever ship.
Yeah, that's another.
I think, and I could say the same to some extent for engineers. I think as a producer, the best thing I can do is stay out of the way until I have to get involved. Because ultimately, I'm just an obstacle to everybody's dreams. I'm going to tell the designers no, and I'm going to tell the engineers they have to do stuff they don't want to do. The goal is to do as little of that as possible, and then in the end, you'll have a successful product.
And you haven't talked about the artists yet. These guys are really hard.
The artists, I have a hard time putting into words how much I appreciate the artists. I wish I could do something to show it, but I can't. Because I have no talent.
So, free to play. Should all games be free to play?
No. No, absolutely not. No, I think.
Well, you work at GREE. You can't
you're not going to see this. I think that there's a place for every kind of game out there. Like there are games that you pay up front and you get a prepackaged game that you love, and you know that you can get everything in that game universe. You can win every item. You can complete every mission for that X amount of money that you paid. You can have games like that every time there's an expansion you pay and you add on. I played EverQuest 2 forever. You also have free-to-play games where, for me, right now, I have serious ADHD, and also I'm incredibly busy. So I am a hit-and-run player of MMOs and games. For me, free-to-play is where it's at because I can get into a game and I can play it, and then if I never touch that game for 3 months, I'm okay with that. I can come back and play it, whereas previously I've paid a subscription for 3 months, and I didn't play it enough. But if I'm playing that game all day, every day, I'm going to want the best quality I can get. I'm going to want a game that's tailored to what I'm paying for every day. I like what a lot of client-based MMOs have done lately, where they've put the money and expense of making a AAA game that you would pay $60 out of the box and pay $20 a month to play, and then they decided to make it free-to-play. So I have this amazing game that I get to play, which you compare that to the free-to-play stuff that was out 5 years ago, and it's just much better. So no, I think there's a place for everything. There's a place for advertising-driven games, as long as it's not obtrusive and in your way all the time. So, yeah.
So speaking of that, what is a natural experience for an ad?
I don't think such a thing exists.
Oh, come on.
Well, we have partners here. An ad can be something that's like almost a trade-off, a fee for service. Nobody here watches network television and is shocked when a commercial comes on. So I think
about product placement?
I think product placement. I've worked on games.
Superman eating a bowl of Cheerios.
Can of Coke on the table, and the generals are talking in the cutscene. I've seen games where we'll take relationships with companies where, like, maybe you have a game where one of the advantages of this game is if you're social games, you build a house and you can have people over your house. Well, in the game store, you'll buy things for your house. You'll buy a bed, you'll buy a chair. Maybe there's an IKEA bed that's free in the store, and you just click on it and you watch a little ad about how great IKEA is, and now you have a free bed for your place. You might...
Why watch the ad?
Do I want a bed?
No, I mean, well, there's some really interesting companies like Media Spike, I think, right? Where they do natural, I think it's a little bit more of a natural implementation. You go to the IKEA store in the game to buy a bed. There's no advertisement to watch, it's just...
Or Grand 2.
Huh?
Or Grand 2.
Or Grand 2, yeah, it's another great one. So they're doing multiplayer, so they can take a single player game, plop it into a multiplayer tournament experience that's branded by Coke. So you play the Coke tournament.
I think that's similar to the seeing a commercial. Like that's just a small price to pay for the
Well, seeing a commercial, I don't care what you say. Like every time I watch Hulu, I'm still annoyed that I'm getting an ad. So there's
and I pay and I still watch ads.
You know, and I pay to not watch ads. You know?
Yeah, if I had time to watch TV these days, I would probably feel the same way. But yeah, I mean, I play lots of games that have ads in them, and I'm generally, as long as they don't like stop me cold and say you can't do anything until you watch this ad.
Right, because that's interruption, right?
Yeah, I think unobtrusive is saying you can do more if you watch this ad, but we're not going to stop you. We're not going to say, sorry, you've had enough fun for today. Now you have to watch an ad.
Okay, last question I have prepared, and then we'll open it up completely to the audience. You said you're playing games. What games are you currently playing?
I'm playing a lot of things lately. Right now I'm having a love affair with Star Trek Online, which if I could get away with it, I'd give them lots of free consulting, because I play it and I have fun, and I think there's all this stuff I wish they were doing. I've been playing a few different iPad games. I've been playing Middle Manager of Justice, which is
I don't know that one.
A Double Fine game where you open a small superhero franchise and you have to hire heroes and get them out working and make a profit fighting crime. It's a lot of fun, and again, you know, I love their work, I love what they do, but part of me wants to send an email and just bullet out of like, here's some things that you like. They won't take my money. It's a free-to-play game, and I'm trying to spend money, and they won't take my money.
So if you're a Star Trek fan, Star Trek Mobile is one of our portfolio companies.
Someone was telling me about Star Trek Mobile. I've not been exposed.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's one of our companies.
Do they make it on those neat BlackBerry phones? I'm trying to tie it all together.
No, unrelated. Lots of things happen here.
I tried.
Okay, let's. Anyone?
Okay.
All right. If you have any questions, raise your hand. You're too far away, man. Okay. Just yell.
Just say it. I'll repeat it over the mic.
What's the current status of the whole legal adoption issue that GREE is dealing with and did that carry over as a problem to the United States?
Sure. So is there an issue with complete gotcha in Japan, and has it carried over to the United States? On the advice of counsel, it actually
no one cares about gotcha.
There's no issue in the United States. It's not an issue. It's not on the radar in the United States. I actually think it's a brilliant thing, and I wish we could do more of it.
I agree.
So what's your view on paying for cosmetics and paying for mechanics in a free-to-play game?
Cosmetics, I think, was an earlier thing in games, frequently, because it didn't change game balance. I could buy a nice hat, I could buy a nice robe.
I'm going to actually disagree with you. I think that cosmetics work well for certain demographics. The female audience tends to really be attracted to anything that you can customize. It almost represents psychologically on screen themselves in some way if they can create and customize. But different audiences attached to them.
Well, what about building, or would you say feature mechanics?
Yeah, other mechanics aside.
As an example of paid mechanics, how do you mean?
What?
As an example of paid mechanics, what do you mean by paid mechanics?
Okay, like paying for mechanics would be something like maybe Mech Warrior Online, right? Where you can play the game, but you can unlock actual mechs, right? That you have to pay actual money for. And they're fairly expensive, but I mean, you can get along with the game for thousands. Those hero mechs.
I think that part of what you said is the most important from my experience in client-based MMOs, especially as a producer, is as long as the players can achieve things and progress and get there without spending, I don't think it's bad to let other players spend who want things. Like, there's a really cool mech, maybe it's really powerful, maybe it's not, but the fact that I can complete those missions without buying it, that's fine.
But it is still a significant advantage in the game.
It depends on the game, yeah, absolutely.
And so I was just kind of curious as to what your views are, and what do you think the take is going to be on later down the future? Whether companies are going to be further exploiting mechanics and pay to play, which actually there is quite a lot of already. You know? or if it's just going to be some more cosmetic things that will maybe not actually change the gameplay, but might exclude a much larger crowd from it.
I think that depends entirely on the type of game in the market that they're pursuing. The games I played on from Korea and China were a mix of both. Because you had a lot of different kinds of players. You had socializer players who would pay for cosmetic stuff, and then you also had more adventurous players who would pay for advantages, essentially. But there was a browser-based company in San Francisco who were criticized often for having pay-to-win.
Big point.
I don't know what you're talking about. But I think
I can say that because I work there.
My position is balance. Just have a balance and never put players in a position where they can't accomplish something if they don't pay. Because then you're just extorting them. You're extorting them for their money. Don't extort players.
Okay, next question.
Let's wrap up with one more.
Any other questions?
Right up here in the front.
What do you think about users who tracking users on multi-screen experiences and what some of the things Google last night for some industries? Are you guys having trouble tracking where users from one row and seeing what their actual usage pattern is from screen to screen to screen if they play games across screens?
If I understand the question correctly, it's about tracking users. I would say different devices.
Yeah.
We do want to know if you're playing on a phone and a tablet, or a phone or a tablet, and we want to see what your behavior is compared to those. There are some casual games that I've heard anecdotally. Revenue is like exponentially higher for people who play the game on a tablet versus people who play on a phone. You might also find that people playing a phone have more frequent sessions but lower session time, and that might suggest they're playing on the go, they're playing on a bus. And you could tailor what you're doing in the game to those people. You know they don't have a lot of time to be engaged, but you still want them to be entertained, so you got to give them something.
Not just the monetization, but also the game mechanics itself.
Game mechanics and content, because you can't monetize people that give up on your game. So if you find that your users are 4-to-1 ratio, they're playing on tablets and their session time is 3 times longer than your other games, you know that these are people who are sitting down and actually playing on a big screen. Give them the experience that warrants that. Whereas if you have people who are frequently playing on a small screen for a couple of minutes at a time, kind of this hit and run gaming, make sure that your mechanics follow that they can accomplish a lot with just a few clicks. Don't make them have to tap 20 times to do something.
Okay, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, we'll talk offline about it.
All right, let's give everyone a hand here. Thank you all for coming out, and we will see you next week. Bye.
BT Express Liquidators, the place to go to buy and sell quality new and used office furniture as well as tech and assembly benches, conveniently located in Sunnyvale. BT Express Liquidators has high-quality new furniture on display and a friendly staff ready to work with you. Come check out the used office furniture in our massive storage and display area out back. And we're your Bay Area tech and assembly bench headquarters. BT Express Liquidators, if you're looking for office furniture or tech and assembly benches, we can help you find what you need. Located in Sunnyvale on Elko Drive, and we're online on btexpressliquidatorsinc.com. TiECon, the world's largest conference for entrepreneurs, and IND-TV USA invite you to watch exclusive content from TiECon 2013. Hear key, compelling speakers from LinkedIn, Kiva, Ericsson, 5 Hour Energy, and many more. Check the IND-TV USA website for the broadcast schedule and tune in.